most powerful thing you can do to someone who repeatedly hurts you is not confront them, not forgive them out loud, and not explain what they did wrong. It is to quietly remove yourself from their life as if the decision required no announcement at all. Read that again, and before this video ends, you will understand why the Stoics considered a silent exit not cowardice or avoidance, but one of the highest expressions of self-respect a person can practice, and exactly how to do it without guilt, without drama, and without ever needing them to understand why. Stay with this. Most people handle the wrong people in their lives the same way. They tolerate too long. They explain their hurt hoping for remorse. They have the same conversation a different way, convinced that this time the words will finally land. And when none of it works, they either stay in something that is slowly draining them, or they leave loudly, with confrontation, with accusations, with a closing argument designed to make the other person finally see what they refuse to see. Neither works, not because the words were wrong, because the wrong people are not changed by your words. They are only inconvenienced by them. Marcus Aurelius wrote that you have power over your mind, not outside events. The application of this to toxic relationships is quiet and total. You cannot change what someone is. You cannot force understanding on someone who is not seeking it. What you can do, what is entirely within your power, is decide how much access they have to your life, your energy, and your peace. That decision requires no argument, no permission, and no announcement. If this is landing with you, consider subscribing, not to follow a channel, but to build the inner clarity that makes these kinds of decisions clean, grounded, and permanent. Stay all the way through. The part most people miss comes later. Think about why we feel compelled to explain when we remove someone. We want them to sit with the weight of what they caused. We want, at the bottom of it, to matter enough to them that our leaving registers as a loss. That need is human, but underneath it is a belief that your exit only counts if they react to it, that your peace only begins once they have granted you the closure you are looking for. Epictetus was precise about this. He taught that we suffer not from events, but from our judgments about events. The judgment that keeps people locked in painful relationships is this: I cannot move on until they understand what they did. That single judgment hands the key to your freedom to the person least likely to use it well. Carl Jung wrote that everything that irritates us about others can lead us to an understanding of ourselves. The intensity of our need for the other person to understand. The rehearsed speeches, the drafts we never send, these are not really about them. They are about our own unresolved need to be seen and valued, and that need will not be met by someone who has already shown they cannot meet it. It will only be met by you through the quiet act of choosing yourself instead. Picture this. Someone in your life has shown you, repeatedly and clearly, who they are. Maybe they take without giving. Maybe they diminish you in ways so consistent you have started to doubt your own perceptions. Maybe they are only present when they need something, and absent in every moment that you do. You have talked about it. Things shift briefly, then return to exactly what they were, and still you stay. Not because it is good for you, but because leaving feels like a statement that requires justification, a confrontation you do not have the energy for, a door you cannot close without an explanation they will only use to argue with. That moment, when you feel trapped between staying in something wrong and leaving in a way that feels impossible, is exactly the moment the Stoics would ask you to reconsider what leaving actually requires. It requires nothing from them, only a decision from you. The silent removal is not about punishment. It is not designed to make them wonder or teach them a lesson. Those motivations are still about them. The Stoic removal is about something else entirely, recognizing that your time, your energy, and your emotional life are finite and valuable, and that allocating them to someone who consistently misuses them is a choice you are allowed to stop making. Seneca wrote that it is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste much of it. He was pointing at exactly this. The years spent in dynamics that drain without restoring, that take without reciprocating, that leave you smaller calmer and quieter than you were before them. Those years do not come back, and no confrontation, no matter how eloquent, returns them. Here is the reframe that changes everything. You have been treating the explanation as something you owe them. You do not. The only person you owe an explanation to is yourself. And that explanation is simply, this costs more than it gives, and I have decided my peace is worth more than their understanding. This is what the Stoics practiced. Marcus Aurelius, in his private journals, never intended for anyone else's eyes, wrote not about how to change the people around him who behaved badly, but about how to maintain his own character in response to them. His question was never, what do I need to say to make this person different? His question was, who do I need to be in the face of what this person is? That is the entire shift. From fixing them to protecting yourself. The silent exit, practiced with genuine intention, is one of the cleanest things a person can do. No drama means no ammunition. When you leave quietly, there is no argument for them to win, no emotional outburst for them to use as evidence that the problem was always you. You simply become unavailable, gradually, completely, and without performance. This does not mean cruelty. If circumstances require interaction, you remain civil and composed. You simply stop investing. You stop initiating. You stop making yourself available at the level you once did. The relationship does not end with a bang. It ends the way most things that have outlived their purpose end, quietly, and then completely. Epictetus taught that we should always ask, regarding anything, is this something I choose, or something I am compelled by? Most people who stay in draining relationships are compelled by guilt, by history, by the hope that this time will be different. The Stoic practice is to bring that compulsion into the light, examine it honestly, and then make a genuine choice. When you make that choice from clarity rather than reaction, the guilt that usually accompanies it begins to dissolve. Guilt is the appropriate response to doing something wrong. Choosing to protect your peace from someone who has shown they will not respect it is not wrong. It is one of the most responsible things you can do, for yourself and quietly for them, because your continued presence in a dynamic that is not working does not help them grow. It only confirms that the behavior driving you to distance was without real consequence. There is a specific fear that makes this harder than it should be. The fear of being misunderstood, of being seen as cold or dramatic, or as someone who abandons people without reason. This is almost always what keeps people explaining when they should simply be leaving. You want the exit to be understood so that you cannot be blamed for it. You want your reasons on record. But Marcus Aurelius wrote about the tranquility that comes when you stop caring what they say. That tranquility is available the moment you accept that some people will misread your silence as coldness, your boundaries as cruelty, your self-respect as selfishness, and that their misreading is not your responsibility to correct. You are not required to be understood by everyone. You are only required to be honest with yourself. The people who matter will not need you to explain a dignified exit. They will either understand already, or they will ask with genuine curiosity rather than defensive accusation. The ones who condemn you for choosing your peace without their permission were never offering real connection. They were offering access on their terms and calling it closeness. Carl Jung observed that what you do not transform, you transmit. People who remain in painful relationships without changing anything do not neutralize the harm. They absorb it and pass it forward into their other relationships, into their own self-perception, into the way they show up in the world. The silent removal is not retreat. It is the refusal to transmit what you were never meant to carry. This is a daily practice and an internal one. It begins not with any external action, but with a shift in how you understand your own value. There will be moments when every instinct tells you to reach out, to reopen what you quietly closed. The practice is to feel that pull without following it, to sit in the discomfort of an unresolved dynamic without filling the silence with capitulation. Each time you do this, something consolidates inside you. You prove to yourself, in the only language that matters, that your decisions are real, that when you close a door it stays closed, that your peace is not negotiable with the right amount of pressure or the right expression of of regret from someone who has expressed it before and returned to themselves shortly after. Over time, this changes the quality of every relationship in your life. When people understand, not through being told, but through experience, that your presence is genuinely earned and your absence is genuinely possible, the dynamic shifts. The people worth keeping rise to meet that reality. The people who were only comfortable with a version of you that had no limits quietly fall away. What remains is something cleaner, more honest, and far less exhausting than anything you had before. You do not need a confrontation to close a chapter. You do not need their remorse to begin your peace. You do not need the final word to be free of what was costing you. The Stoics never made leaving a performance. They made it a decision, private, grounded, and final. They understood that the most powerful statement you can make to someone who does not value you is not an explanation. It is your absence. And the most powerful gift you can give yourself is the willingness to let that absence speak for itself, quietly, completely, without apology. Thank you for being part of Stoic Journal. If something in today's message gave you the clarity you have been looking for, there is another video on the screen that continues this path. Watch it next, and keep building the quiet strength that protects what matters. Stay strong, stay grounded, and keep walking the path of peace, purpose, and wisdom.